Yesterday's deployment of armored troop carriers into Harare didn't just send shockwaves, it sent full scale political tremors across the city, shaking an already exhausted and fed up populace to its core. The streets buzzed with whispers, social media exploded with theories, and for a brief moment, Zimbabweans held their breath. Could it be? Was this the moment when the tide finally turned? Was the long awaited, much anticipated, desperately needed shift in power finally upon us? But as the dust settled, reality hit like a Zupco bus with no brakes. This wasn't the dramatic finale people had been waiting for. No bold declarations, no breaking news of a regime crumbling under its own weight. Just another day in the circles of Zimbabwean politics, where armored troop carriers roam the streets not as liberators, but as reminders that the old, tired playbook of fear and intimidation is still in use. The feverish anticipation of a coup was almost comical in its intensity. Zimbabweans, accustomed to disappointment, still managed to muster up enough hope to believe, even for a second, that the military might finally intervene. Not to crush protesters, not to rig another election, not to guard looted public funds, but to actually do something useful for once. But of course, that was wishful thinking. The very fact that people even considered the possibility of a coup as a good thing speaks volumes about the regime's complete and utter failure. When citizens actively look forward to a military intervention, not because they love coups, but because literally anything would be better than the current disaster, it's safe to say that the so called Second Republic has spectacularly flopped. A government that commands respect does not need armored troop carriers rolling through its capital like a dictatorship on autopilot. A leader with legitimacy does not rely on military intimidation to remind the people who's boss. But here we are, yet again, where the presence of armored troop carriers does not signal an external threat or a security crisis, but simply serves as a blunt instrument of domestic control. It's almost laughable, really. Instead of addressing the economic freefall, the soaring cost of living, or the laughable state of public services, the regime's grand solution is to flex its military muscle. Because clearly nothing says we are in control quite like scaring the very people you claim to govern. It's like a failing restaurant hiring armed security to keep customers from leaving. Maybe, just maybe, the problem isn't the customers. This whole spectacle should be a giant red flag, not just for the regime, but for the entire nation. If Zimbabweans are so starved for change that the mere sight of armored troop carriers makes them believe that salvation is near, then the system is already rotting from the inside out. It's not even a question of if it will collapse. It's a matter of when. A government that is so deeply despised, so widely distrusted, and so openly ridiculed that people would rather bet on a coup than another fraudulent election is a government on borrowed time. And for all the armored troop carriers in the world, history has proven that no amount of brute force can stop a determined people from reclaiming what is rightfully theirs. So let's be clear, these armored troop carriers are not a show of strength. They are a confession of weakness. They are the physical embodiment of a regime that has lost the battle for hearts and minds and now relies purely on coercion to maintain its grip. But no empire of fear lasts forever. The louder the oppression, the closer the fall. And when that fall comes, it won't be because of armored troop carriers or soldiers or political games. It will be because Zimbabweans, weary but unbroken, have simply had enough. Subscribe to Zimwaves TV and stay tuned, because if yesterday's chaos proved anything, it's that the next big political earthquake might not be as far away as the regime hopes.
Oh, yari, 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 yari. Tapinda mukorecha. Tapinda munerimwe. Zimbabwe itinondirwadza. Zimbabwe, nyika yedu inondishungurudza. Mazano mucharamba muripo here, muchipira nyika yeZimbabwe. Chimukutenengoda zvese, ndiko kusanyara vana vachifa nenzara. Gore rino vana veZimbabwe atidi madisi nyongoro. Chamupupuri shikane patiri, tibvise ose makoronyera. Mazanu mucharamba muripo here, muchipira nyika yeZimbabwe. Chimukutenengoda zvese, ndiko kusanyara vana vachifa nenzara. Munangagwa enda unorima, siyai mukomana apinde. Budiriro yevana veZimbabwe, ndimima inonotsa. Oh, mazano mucharamba muripo here, muchipira nyika yeZimbabwe. Chimukutenengoda zvese, ndiko kusanyara vana vachifa nenzara. Gore rino vana veZimbabwe atidi madisi nyongoro. Chamupupuri shikane patiri, tibvise ose makoronyera. Mazanu mucharamba muripo here, muchipira nyika yeZimbabwe. Chimukutenengoda zvese, ndiko kusanyara vana vachifa nenzara. Munangagwa enda unorima, siyai mukomana apinde. Budiriro yevana veZimbabwe, ndimima inonotsa. Oh, mazano mucharamba muripo here, muchipira nyika yeZimbabwe. Chimukutenengoda zvese, ndiko kusanyara vana vachifa nenzara. Mazano mucharamba muripo here, muchipira nyika yeZimbabwe. Chimukutenengoda zvese, ndiko kusanyara vana vachifa nenzara. Oh. Tapinda mukorecha, tapinda munerimwe. Zimbabwe inondirwadza, Zimbabwe nyika yedu inondishungurudza. Mazano mucharamba muripo here, muchipira nyika yeZimbabwe. Chimukutenengoda zvese, ndiko kusanyara vana vachifa nenzara. Gore rino vana veZimbabwe atidi madisi nyongoro. Chamupupuri shikane patiri, tibvise ose makoronyera. Mazanu mucharamba muripo here, muchipira nyika yeZimbabwe. Chimukutenengoda zvese, vanyara vana vachifa nenzara.